Hello, hello, ladies. Just let everybody get their audio and their camera set up. How's your Wednesday been so far?
Yeah, good.
Good. Good, good, good. Whew, I'm in a sauna in my little office. I've just come back in here and I've got one of those heated laundry rails, you know, the hanging rack, but it's got an element through it, so it's heated. So my office is a little bit like a sauna. So if I shed a layer halfway through, I apologise. So the wonders of working from home, you know, keeping it real. There's the said laundry rail. All right, here's Karen coming back in. Oh, Karen, you still at work?
I've just walked in the door. Oh. Sorry.
No, that's good. We'll actually touch on that as we go through the talk tonight. All right, lovely, lovely. Okay, really nice to see you guys. First of all, I'll make an apology for the Facebook post this week. We mentioned that Heidi would be popping in to introduce herself. Now, we're juggling time zones with Heidi because she's based in America, and because we're juggling there, she was struggling to meet up with an actual client with one of our ladies. So she's using this time to work with a lady. So we've met, she did a live within the Facebook group, so you've got a face to put to a name. And she was going to talk, she was just going to introduce herself and talk a bit about the importance of mindset behind supporting your journey. But I think you guys already all know this. So it was just so she could get more familiar with some of you and your names. All right, so last week I asked you to look into your crystal ball and do a bit of a forecasting exercise. Karen, how are you feeling? You weren't here last week, you were a bit...
Yeah, I'm better than I was last week. I spent the whole week in bed, which was a bit rubbish with COVID. First day back at work today, so that was quite testing. I feel like I need new batteries, so if anyone's got any ideas, that would be good.
That would be nice. Jackie also didn't see you last week, so this forecasting exercise, don't worry, I'll describe it briefly. And
I did look over the replay. I did see that one, so... But I've got COVID as well, so I know exactly where you're coming from, Karen. So I'm off work at the moment.
Wouldn't it be good if that's what they said, that, you know, if you get COVID, you just need new batteries? That would, you know, okay. So I think, have we got 2 doctors in the room?
Yeah. Ironic.
Yeah. But guys, you're like so vulnerable. You're right on literally the front line. I know that's been said for the last 2 years, but so sleep is all of our biggest allies. When, you know, any ailment comes down, you know, your body best repairs when you're sleeping. And Karen, I know you're busy, and then you come home and you juggle as well. But while you're trying to find these batteries, we're going to touch back on this. I'm going to come back to this at the end of the call, if that's all right as well. So first of all, the forecasting exercise, to summarize and let Karen roughly know what we're doing, I was getting you to imagine that you're looking into a crystal ball and you were going to look at what you would like your life to look like. Now, Karen, you're at a junction, you know, you're thinking about leaving TDL, and whatever that junction might be, whether it is 3 months from now, this time next year, 5 years, or what you'd like your retirement to look like, right? And I want you to really picture it, and, you know, picture your relationship and your home and how organized your sock drawer is, everything, and put as much detail and feeling into it. And then imagine writing a letter back to yourself now, where you are now. And it's a really valuable exercise to just help give you a sense of direction. So some of you ladies, I know you maybe were scribbling down for me last week and I asked you to have a think about it. Now, whether you went ahead and did the whole letter or whether you just lay in the bath and mulled it over, first thing tonight, rather than wins, what I'd like you to tell me is, did you come up with anything super exciting? Can you trump my Channing Tatum intentions? You know, was there anything exciting came up for you? And I'm going to start top left. I'm going to come to you, Gail, first.
Oh, smashing. Mine was just about being healthier and lighter, less fat, being able to go a whole day and not actually have to have a nap.
Wow, so you need new batteries too?
Well, always. I'm not so bad now. I can wait till after dinner to have my nap. I used to come home and have a nap, but I'm all right now. But I'd like to spend like a whole day with my niece and nephew and not be absolutely knackered the next day as well.
That's the wonderful thing about borrowing other people's children is and you can, yeah, because they can be a bit of a drain on the batteries. So that's a really nice intention. Is there something you'd like to do with them?
I think we're going to Legoland Windsor in September.
Cool, brilliant. Well, fingers crossed, September, everything is going to go to plan.
Yeah,
So that's, you know, Legoland's in your crystal ball. Claire, I'm going to come over to you now.
I've not written anything down yet. It was just sort of thoughts in my head. But I'm sort of thinking that we're probably not living here anymore. We're somewhere else. We're happy. Everything's worked out. All the rubbish that's going on with Luke at the moment, that's all sorted, and you know, we don't have any worries anymore. That's some of the stuff I've come up with so far.
Have you got any idea about where you would like to? Is it a different country? Is it a different climate? Where do you fancy living? Anywhere else?
Oh gosh, well, we love Cyprus, so I could quite easily live there. But or even just somewhere in the south of this country, actually, by the sea.
Yeah,
would be great. Luke loves the water, swimming, so yeah. Nice.
And did you speak to your husband and Luke about these ideas? Did anybody open it up with their family? Claire, did you speak to the boys?
I haven't. No.
Interesting. I'm going to come down left to Michelle.
Because we don't know where we are on your screen.
Oh, I know, it's a surprise.
A surprise. Well, I put on your post, obviously, that I was struggling a bit with this, and it depends how far ahead you want to go, or I wanted to go. And I mean, if we go far ahead a couple of years, then I'm retired along with my husband. We're traveling a lot. I'm content with myself, and still fit and able to exercise to the extent that I do just now, but happy with dietary choices and just living a happy life without the shackles of work around me anymore, and with my clutter firmly out of the door, which, despite your doubts, Lindsay Thompson, I have made massive inroads into already this week. So I'm quite pleased with that. But so that's a short-term goal, but the contentment, the travel, the retirement, that's the longer term one. That's where I'm coming back from.
Lovely. Well done with the clutter. I must share with you, I actually saw it on Facebook, and it's a tongue-in-cheek decluttering idea. And what it is when they've perhaps decluttered their mug cupboard, and I plan to do this for my daughters. My bottom shelf in my mug cupboard is full of all their character mugs and the gift mugs, and there's probably about 18 of them. I live alone. I need one mug. So what I'm going to start doing is when I go to visit, I'm going to take one and I'm just going to put it in their cupboard. And this is going to be my sense of decluttering. I'm going to take something with me and leave it somewhere. I've got a bookshelf over here, which I'm not going to read the books, but this idea on Facebook was take something to somebody else's house and just discreetly put it somewhere. And then you've decluttered your house and they're going to be like, oh, I've not read that book. And you're passing it on, because often when you declutter, you're left with this bin bag, and I've got one at the top of my stairs just now of clothes and pillows that I maybe want to take to a dog shelter or something. They've been there for about 2 months now, and you've just not got somewhere to then put them to. So take them to somebody else's house and drop them off at their house. Jackie, what did you think then with the recording? Did you have any ideas? Anything exciting?
I did have a think about it. Every new year, it's always been, I'm going to lose weight. And I've always failed and felt totally rubbish about myself. I joined TDL last April, and I have learned this time round that actually in 5 years' time, I'll be at my ideal weight that I have planned in my head. But I know, and it'll be all right for having the bumps along the way, and it's not just a straight road. I will get myself back on it, and I will get there in the end. If that's one thing TDL has taught me, it's not always a straight line, and it's okay to be that. So, yeah.
Great. So Karen, is there anything super exciting you see in your crystal ball that if I had a wand and I could do it for you, what would you love to see?
I would love to come home on time from work. I think it would, well, yeah, I mean, I think it would, a lot of it would be to do with work. It would be sort of, I'll probably get all this, go to work, do the work, everything done whilst I'm there, and then just come home and not have to think about it, and then enjoy my free time just with the family or my friends, and not constantly having to, you know, think about the work side of things. That would be really nice to do, because from a home life point of view, I'm quite happy with how things are, I would say, you know, but I think that's my biggest stress. So if you could magic me anything, it would be that, basically.
Great. Okay. That was quite nice. As nobody's asked for an extra hour in the day, because I don't think I can do that. How good would an 8th day in the week be? Preferably a weekend day, that would be good. So the reason I'm getting to think about this is to basically give you a bit of a sense of direction. So the importance of mindset is, you know, we know to be positive, we know to have a bit of clarity, but we actually need a direction. So Jackie, although the direction you might go that way, you're still going forward. You're still going forward. And, you know, we've seen all the memes, and we've heard all the, you know, the little cliches, don't look back, we're not going that way. But it's really nice to have metaphorical carrot, something to aim for, and it doesn't need to be scale or weight based. You know, like Gail's saying, it could be energy, and Claire's aiming for the sea and moving home, and we know Michelle's just wanting a nice organized sock drawer. Michelle, I'm sorry.
The sock drawer's done. I nailed that one. It's the rest that we're working on.
It's the best starting place, the sock drawer, because I think you can just do it quite quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So just giving yourself a sense of direction, you know, a ship at sea, and it's just kind of, yeah, I'm just going to do this, Jackie, like you're saying, every new year and make this decision. You're bothered about, but now you've actually got 5 years time. I know I'm going to be closer to where I want to be, and it can take 5 years, because sometimes it takes us 10 years to get to this position. So we need, you know, the next step. I'll use the analogy of running as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be a sprint. We can go in for the marathon, you know, and just take your time, the hare and the tortoise. And yeah, there might be a couple of hurdles in there in the way. That's fine. We can go over them, or we can certainly go around them, which might be easier. Okay, so if, you know, so I invited you there. I asked you, Claire, if you'd asked the boys, if you'd spoken about it. This is really good chat to have with somebody, because the more you verbalize it, remember last week I was saying, the more you imagine that yellow car, if you're out on a road trip, Karen, and somebody says to you, right, count the yellow cars. Before you know it, these yellow cars are popping up, and you're creating the opportunity to recognize them. And the same thing here, the more you discuss your dreams and what you fancy happening, the more likely it's going to come to fruition. And it is a bit woo-woo, you're manifesting your destiny or what have you, but you'll talk about it and try and make it real, and you'll start to realize that the hurdle isn't actually as big as you think. So thank you very much for sharing some of your plans there. Karen, I hope you don't mind. I'm going to use your scenario to finish our conversation tonight, where you're talking about that I would like to come home from work on time and actually put on my I'm at home hat and leave work at work. Now, unfortunately, understandably, in certain professions, you can't do that. You're always going to take that person home in your head. You're always going to think, oh, I have to do that. And you did mention that sometimes you cannot leave at 5 o'clock because something needs to be done by tomorrow. Something needs to be done quite urgently. But what you can do is try and have a bracket that, you know, I need to leave my desk between 5:30 and 6:30, for example. Give yourself a rough time and try and keep this. I'm going to use a wee phrase here. Throughout your TDL journey, you'll be very familiar with the phrase of non-optimal, and that's your you know, suboptimal food that you're including into your meal template throughout the week. So I want you to now think of the non-negotiable, something that you're not going to let yourself down on. And that could be, depending on what your goals are in your journey, it could be your step count. It could be, I'm going to get 10,000 steps a day. But your non-negotiable could also be, right, I have to be out of the office by 6 o'clock. I know that's easier said than done, because life throws you curveballs. So that's why your meal template that you used with when you started with Lindsay, you've got space you've got wiggle room. You don't have to have that non-optimal in the evening. You could have had it in the afternoon if you were like desperately needing it, if you were Hank Marvin, but we've got it there in the evening. And then the evening, if you don't want it, you don't have to have it. So it doesn't rock the boat too much if you don't have it. But having a non-negotiable of leaving work at a certain time and actually saying, this is something that I do, rather than I would like to leave work at 6:30, it could be, this is something that I do. And then, you're changing the way you say it in your head. So you're changing your mindset around it. It's a little bit like if you're getting a flight to go on holiday, that plane is not going to wait for you. You need to be there on that time. It is a non-negotiable time. And the only reason that we sway away from our own non-negotiables is because we let ourselves down a little bit sometimes. I'm using time's not the best example of that because I understand in some professions there's literally, I have to take this call. Could be a life or death situation, but the days that it's not, you need to say, no, going home to my family is more important. Going home and recharging my batteries is more important. Now, I want to, go and give me a show of hands, who is working from home just now? Are you all back in person?
Some of us have never been away, Lindsay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So many of the ladies I've worked with over the last 2 years have had a large proportion of working at home, and they struggled with a transition period from being at their desk, being at their screen, to going and being in the kitchen and spending time with their family for their evening meal. So, and they also missed out the commute time. So if you guys are all working in person and you're all away from home during the day, you've got that little bit of a commute time. And that can be seen as a burden. It's another chunk out of your day and it's wasted time. But if you could start using that commute time, perhaps as, think of a transition time. So you're a little bit like Superman. You're going into the phone booth, and when you're in the phone booth, you're changing, you're taking off your work hat. You're putting away your work to-do list. And okay, you maybe need to pick up the wife and the mum and the sister and the auntie to-do list, but you come into a different mode for coming home and use your commute for that time. So when I'm commuting between a couple of different places, I work between a couple of different places, and I use my commute time. I used to listen to the news. I don't suggest doing that. I'm now listening to the most ridiculous podcast, and it makes me laugh out loud. It's so funny, it's so off the wall, and it's just complete escapism from what I've been doing at work to what I then come to do my other jobs at home. And that is my transition area in the car. And my partner's actually asked me recently, he's like, when do you have time to listen to all these podcasts? I'm like, while I'm traveling, while I'm commuting. Our phones and cars are very clever. They pick each other up, or if I'm walking, I stick in my earpods. And it's something I'd invite you to try and do, because that transition in your commute time is a time for you to decompress and get rid of any stress. Does anybody already listen to audiobooks or music, or do you phone somebody while you're commuting?
Yeah, I often phone my daughter, the one that's further away. I'll use that time to get hold of her en route, because it just seems a convenient time to do that, really. Yeah.
And by doing this, you are, like, say, leaving work at work, hopefully, because you could have left a stressful situation. You could have left thinking, I literally hate my job. You could have, and when you go and change your mindset a little bit by having a conversation with somebody completely unrelated, and you don't talk about work, you don't say, oh, my boss is doing my head in, you don't go and talk about work, you talk about something completely different, and it can help you transition. But setting that non-negotiable for yourself is a way that you're going to try and keep that habit up. So other things, Karen, you're mentioning was, leaving, oh, my light's just gone on, leaving TDL, learning, getting a couple of strategies for dealing with stress. And that phrase, that terminology of the non-negotiable, I'd invite you to think about other areas you could put it in to your daily life, your weekly life, your weekend life, your relationship. And I'm going to throw floor over to you guys. Do you have any suggestions or ideas? What else could you decide? Yeah, I could do that every day and give myself a little rule. I don't like the word rule. I prefer the word non-negotiable, because it's something you've decided and you don't feel too caged in by it.
I always make sure that I have at least half an hour's lunch out of my 1 hour at school. So I never used to. I used to grab like 10 minutes or so, but since starting TDL, I now have my, in fact, 3/4 of an hour. I've worked smarter.
Great.
So just thinking about it, I think.
Anybody else?
I go out at lunchtime. Only get a half an hour break, so I go out for that half hour and do a walk, and to get away from the phones, basically.
Get away from the phone, yeah. Get away from screens. So sorry, Michelle.
I do have a 6 o'clock deadline, but and Karen might be surprised at this, and different practices work in different ways. But but it's not just from TDL. When my girls were little, I had an hour and 10 minute of a commute to my practice and then away from my practice. And my husband used to work away from home a lot. So for the 3 days a week that I worked, I dropped my girls at my parents at 7 in the morning and I picked them up at the back of 7 in the evening. And so it was incredibly important to me. I had to be out of that door at 6 o'clock away from the practice, and it was totally and utterly non-negotiable. And because it got so ingrained from that point of view, I still maintain it. I just do not let myself stay beyond that. And that might mean that it's a working lunch or that I am running around like a headless chicken all day. But if that means I get out of that place at 6 o'clock in the evening, then I get out of that place at 6 o'clock in the evening. And I used to actually make sure that I didn't know how to. Now, I'm senior partner. This is ridiculous what I'm going to say next. I still, to this day, after 25 years in that practice, cannot work the alarm. I cannot set the alarm. So I cannot possibly be the last person out of that building because I can't lock it up.
Great.
And I'm going to maintain that until the day I retire.
It's an excellent excuse.
Yeah.
Never be a key holder.
Nope.
Never be a key holder. So,
The building shuts at 5:30, so it's great to meet about.
so Karen, I'm aware some of these are time sensitive, right? And you know, and you're like, I don't have that time. I don't get that lunch break. I don't get that time. So you will need to look at your individual situations and work out, where can I carve, even if it's 5 minutes for myself throughout the week. Now that might mean that you need to get up 10 minutes earlier in the morning. And that idea never appealed to me in the slightest, because that's when you feel your heaviest, that's when you feel most tired, and that's when the batteries really are, you're like, oh, another day, and you're dragging yourself out of bed. But if you can go downstairs and actually get your mindset right, I'm going to have this coffee on my own in silence without anybody being there. And like Michelle's saying, even if you know, okay, the day looks bonkers, I've not got a lunch today, I need to work through. If you take that moment in the morning to think, okay, I'm going to work through lunch, make that decision so that I can leave at 6 or whatever time it is you were able to leave. Because it's like your non-optimal food that we've had as a little glimmer of hope at the end of the day. You got a bonkers day, but it's all right because I can finish at 6. So rather than thinking, oh, I'm working all day and I've got my lunch break. So just trying to take your mindset somewhere different for the stressful day that you've got. But I do understand there's so many times I find myself saying, I don't have that time. And I would put the barriers up. Whatever somebody was saying to me, you can find it here, you can find it here. And I'd be like, you have no idea what you're talking about. You don't live in my shoes. You're not a single mom, blah, 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 blah. And I made every excuse. And we can find time, but it has to be on our own, in our own situation. You need to look at your own week and work out, where can I decompress? Where can I let the pressure off? And if it's 5 minutes first thing in the morning, so you can just plan, yeah, I'm in the driving seat for today and it's going to be busy, but that's, you know, try and set in your non-negotiables for the day. And hopefully, if you've got a bonkers day and you've planned that, you'll be better able to switch off a little bit in the evening. Sounds very hopeful. What do you think?
Sounds very hopeful. I think no, definitely, and I do, you know, all those things, and I think the problem for me is that I work 3 days and I get 2 days off. You say off, but they're not really off, are they, when you're a mum and whatever? But I think my problem is I've kind of crammed so much into the days I'm there that they end up being these mentally long days rather than them feeling a little bit less pressured. So, and like with the commute, I live 3 minutes from my work, so so I don't get much chance to sort of, unless I go for a drive or whatever, you know, and we don't close till 6:30, so I don't ever leave until 7 at the very earliest, because I think the problem for me is that I'm a single-handed partner, so everything falls on me, so everything clinical, non-clinical, etc., comes down to me. So I've kind of created my mental days, but like tomorrow is my admin day, so I'll be at home. So I kind of, like, today was I wouldn't normally be sat here in my scrubs. It was just the fact we had an extra meeting to sort out some COVID stuff. But yeah, I need to try getting up early, and I do like that idea, but I need to just get my bum out of bed.
Aim for 5 minutes. Okay, do not set your alarm clock for 6 o'clock and think I'm going to do half an hour of yoga. Don't do that. You know, that's unrealistic. Be comfortable. Just push it back a little bit. Think 5 minutes. And if that means that you've got time to wash your hair in the morning, you know, what a treat. And actually maybe just spend 5 minutes on yourself in the bathroom in the morning. And it just might make you feel slightly more content of, right, come on, Wednesday, let's be having you. But start with something really manageable, because if you set yourself something too high, you know, you're going to come Friday and think, oh, I can't be bothered. And you know, this is what we've been doing, layering in habits all along. So yeah, your volume of work. Yeah, we know you guys in your profession just now. It's just a dam. It's right there. So I'd invite you to just keep talking about it and make sure you've got your support network. I am noticing the time. I'm not going to overtalk this week. We're going to go into vulnerability call in a second, and I've got a different topic for you tonight, again, because Heidi isn't able to join us. But I'm going to direct you back to the Facebook page. Raylene did a live video, I think it was on Sunday, and she did a breathing exercise. I'm like, oh, that was my idea, because I was going to do that for tomorrow's live, so I need to go and find something else. I highly encourage you to go and have a listen of it. She's got a remarkably calm voice, and if that 5 minutes in the morning you're like, oh, I'm not sure what to do, please don't pick up Facebook, by the way, but have a look at that breathing exercise, you know. And when you are feeling a little bit like actually about to explode, breathing exercises, and as you get to know me, you'll realize I'm going to encourage you to do this and dip your toe into this an awful lot more. It spills over into our gut health, our sleep ability, you know, managing your stress. Your breath is just at the center of it all. So have a little look at that video if you get a couple of minutes. Is everybody joining for the vulnerability call tonight? Mm-hmm. Lovely. Because Karen, I understand you were saying, you know, that's a big chunk out of a Wednesday night, and it is. So sometimes you maybe choose, oh, I'll come to that one, but not that one, or I'll come to that one and I'll catch that one on replay tomorrow, because you can, okay? Because your time with your family is very important too. All right. So guys, any questions quickly, or like, are you just going to jump into the other call with me? Next one. See you in a minute. I'll see you soon, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.